guys, in this video we're gonna be checking out the top 10 best CPUs for video editing that are available on the market for their true quality.
I made this list based on my personal opinion and hours of research, and I've listed them based on quality, durability, price, and more. I've included options for every type of consumer, so if you're looking for an entry-level option or the best product money can buy, we all have the product for you. If you want more information and updated pricing on the products mentioned, be sure to check the links in the description down below. Okay, so let's get started with the video.
Starting at number 10, we have the AMD Ryzen Unlocked Desktop Processor. AMD Ryzen lineup is known for high performance and high value for money consumer-grade CPUs that can be used for all kinds of uses, including video editing. The AMD Ryzen 9 5900X CPU for video editing is present at the first position in this list since it is one of the best all-rounder options out there. Even at its given price tag, you get a total of 12 cores and 24 threads with it. When combined with its 70 megabytes of cache, you can expect excellent performance from it. Unlike other 12-core CPUs, this one comes with superb clock speeds of 3.7 GHz base and 4.8 GHz boost, making this CPU great for both gaming and video editing. And the best part about this processor is that it offers all of this with just a 105-watt TDP. Since this CPU uses the AMD AM4 socket, it is also highly versatile with the different options out there. Moving on, at number 9, we have the Intel's Core lineup of processors. Intel's Core lineup of processors is one of the most popular options out there when it comes to gaming CPUs that can also be viable for other computing tasks like video editing. This Intel Core i9-9900K CPU for video editing is present at the third position in this article because this is a great gaming CPU that can also be used for video editing. Even though this CPU is made for gaming, you still get 8 cores and 16 threads with it. However, it only features 16 megabytes of cache, which is a bit low for tasks like video editing. Fortunately, you get excellent clock speeds with this octa-core CPU, which includes a base clock of 3.6 GHz and a boost clock of 5.0 GHz, resulting in good performance. Even though it has an iGPU in the form of Intel UHD 630, it has a TDP rating of just 95 watts. Being a mainstream CPU, it uses the highly popular LGA1151 socket from Intel. At number 8, we have the AMD Ryzen 7 3700X 8-core desktop processor. AMD Ryzen is known for offering high value for money processor models, out of which its Ryzen 7 is considered as a great mid-range option for many in terms of its performance. The AMD Ryzen 7 3700X CPU for video editing is one of the best value for money options out there. Despite having a mid-range price tag, you get a total of 8 cores and 16 threads with this CPU. In fact, you also get a total of 36 megabytes of cache, which is great for video editing. Even though this is a previous generation CPU from AMD, you still get a decent base clock speed of 3.6 GHz and a boost clock speed of 4.4 GHz. One of the best things about this CPU is that it is just a 65-watt TDP processor, making it highly efficient. And since this is an AMD CPU, it uses the AMD AM4 socket for easily using it with a wide range of motherboards. At number 7, we have the AMD Ryzen 7 2700X processor. We have yet another mid-range CPU option from AMD that can be a good option for those who want a high core count processor without paying a premium for the same. AMD's Ryzen 7 2700X CPU for video editing is one of the cheapest octa-core options out there. To be exact, this processor features an 8-core and 16 threads that are great for video editing. But because it is a fairly old CPU model, you only get 20 megabytes cache with it. But the biggest letdown of this processor is that you only have a base clock of 3.7 GHz and a boost clock of 4.3 GHz, which does not offer performance close to the recent options because of IPC differences. Because of the older architecture, its TDP is also a bit high at 105-watt TDP. Fortunately, since it is an AMD processor, it still uses the AMD AM4 socket. At number 6, we have the Intel Core i7-10700K desktop processor. NTEL has also caught up with AMD in terms of offering high core count processor models with its newer models under the Intel Core lineup of processors like the one mentioned here. This Intel Core i7-10700K CPU for video editing can be a great value for money octa-core processor for many users. Since it supports hyperthreading, you get a total of 8 cores and 6 threads with this CPU. And unlike older Intel CPUs, this one even comes with a decent amount of 16 MB cache, which is on par with higher-end Core i9 models. Being an Intel CPU model, it features very high clock speeds of 3.8 GHz base and 5.1 GHz, making it perfect for both video editing and gaming on your computer. Unfortunately, because this Intel CPU still uses 14 nanometers architecture, its TDP is quite high at 125 watts. As Intel has moved to a new generation, it uses the newer LGA1200 socket. At number 5, we have the AMD Ryzen 5 3600X6 core desktop processor. AMD Ryzen processors also come at an entry-level price tag that can be a great option for buyers on a budget who want to build an entry-level editing computer. The AMD Ryzen 5 3600X CPU for video editing is a great affordable option for all those of you who are on a tight budget. Because of its low price tag, you get a total of 6 cores and 12 threads. Despite that, you still get 35 MB of cache with it, which is much higher even than Intel's high-end offerings. Since this processor only offers 6 cores, its clock speeds are decently high with a 3.8 GHz base and a 4.4 GHz boost clock. Even though AMD offers high-efficiency processors, this one has a TDP rating of 95 watts as this is an X Edition CPU. Fortunately, you still get the standard AMD AM4 socket with this processor. At number 4, we have the AMD Ryzen 5 3600X6 core desktop processor. For those of you who are on a tight budget, you can even find non-X editions of AMD's Ryzen processor that can be a great budget-friendly option for many. AMD's Ryzen 5 3600 CPU is the cheapest option stated here in this listicle, which is the perfect option for entry-level computers. Since this is more or less a slightly slower version of the previously stated 3600X, you get a total of 6 cores and 12 threads with this one too. This is combined along with 35 MB of cache, which is important for high-performance video editing. The only difference between this and the X edition of this CPU is its slightly different clock speeds of 3.6 GHz base and 4.2 GHz boost clocks. With these slightly lower clock speeds, you get a TDP rating of 65 watts, making it one of the most efficient options out there. You also get the AMD AM4 socket with this CPU for easily using it with any AMD motherboard of your choice. At number 3, we have the AMD YD195XA8 AEWOF Ryzen desktop processor. AMD also offers HEC processors under its Threadripper that can be a great competitor to Intel's offerings and a great option for video editing, thanks to their high-end performance numbers. This AMD Ryzen Threadripper 1950X CPU for video editing is one of the cheapest high-core options out there. Even though this is an older generation CPU model, you still get a total of 16 cores and 32 threads, which are great for video editing. And you also get a total of 40 MB cache with it, making it viable for heavy-duty computing tasks. Unfortunately, because this is an old general CPU, it has a base clock of just 3.4 GHz with a boost clock of up to 4.2 GHz with XFR. Due to its high core count, its given TDP of 180 watt is quite high, which is to be expected. Coming to its socket, the HEC platform from AMD uses the AMD TR4 socket. At number 2, we have the AMD YD299XAZAFWOF Ryzen Threadripper 2990WX processor. AMD Threadripper can be the perfect option for those who do not have any budget restriction and want one of the best performing options out there, thanks to its excellent core count. The AMD Threadripper 2990WX CPU for video editing offers the highest amount of cores out of the various options given here. To be exact, you get a total of 32 cores and 64 threads with it, which is perfect for high-end usage. In fact, you also get a very high cache capacity of 80 megabytes, making it the perfect CPU for video editing and heavy multitasking. For a 32-core CPU, its given clock speed ratings of 3.0 GHz base and 4.2 GHz boost clock speeds are quite respectable. And this high-end CPU from AMD relies on the AMD TR4 socket, allowing you to use all AMD HET features. Unfortunately, all of these performance numbers come at the cost of its TDP of 250 watts. And finally, at number 1, we have the Intel Core i9-10920X desktop processor. If you do not want a CPU for daily usage but for high-end computing tasks like video editing, then the Intel HET platform can be a great option, including its CPU model present here. Intel's Core i9-10920X CPU for video editing is present in this listicle as a great HET option for video editing thanks to its high-end performance numbers. Similar to the previous Ryzen CPU, this one also comes with 12 cores and 24 threads. Although, it only has a total of 19 megabytes of cache, which might not be enough for some users. Coming to the clock speeds of this CPU, it is rated for a base clock speed of 3.5 GHz and a boost clock speed of 4.8 GHz, which is quite decent for a HET CPU. Being a HET CPU from Intel, it uses the X299 chipset along with the LGA 2066 socket. Unfortunately, being based on an older architecture, it is not the most efficient as it has a very high TDP of 165 watts.
Thanks you for watching, guys. I hope you liked this video. If this video is helpful to you, please make sure like, comment and subscribe. If you have any question related to this product, you can leave a comment down below. I will get back to you as soon as possible.